Welcome to Life in Balance. In this episode, we will talk with Dr. Quiros about your cardiovascular health. Join me as I teach you how to curb those hunger pangs in the middle of the day with a healthy, sweet and salty trail mix. And we will do more yoga poses with Geri Cepeda, all in this episode of Life in Balance.
Basically, heart disease, that's a kind of a wide open question. I would probably consider to say maybe a little bit more cardiovascular disease, which is the more prevalent condition in the world, basically. So that basically involves disease of the vascular system within the heart itself, or the whole body per se. I think for a general population, we can more or less simplify this to talk about the pipes. And so the body has pipes, the arteries, and basically those with the passage of time will deteriorate, just like pipes in a house begin to deteriorate,
Plumbing.
Right, the plumbing, right.
Mm-hmm.
And so in the body, basically the arteries with the passage of time will begin to deteriorate, and it's part of the aging process. However, certain conditions will accelerate that process throughout our lives. And so when those pipes are affected, they can affect the heart, we call that cardiovascular disease. When they affect the brain, we call that cerebrovascular disease, renal vascular disease, so different target areas. But as a whole, it's more or less like a plumbing, a piping problem, which basically translates to deterioration of those arteries. We call that atherosclerosis, basically. So basically it's a process by which the deterioration of the arterial system, the pipes, takes place at an accelerated pace. And that is where some of these risk factors come in. And in this case, as you're going to talk about diabetes, we know that certain things will accelerate that process. So basically hypertension, diabetes, high cholesterol, tobacco use, family history, those 5 things will accelerate that process of deterioration. Then sedentary lifestyles and obesity also will definitely play a part as well. Unfortunately, here in Guam, basically the whole line, unfortunately because of the genetics. And a lot of times because of the dietary indiscretion and the non-compliance. But mainly the main population that we would like to address and to start the preventive process, of course, would be those at risk, those with family history, and those with family histories of hypertension and diabetes, because those are likely will develop those conditions. Those who are sedentary lifestyles and who are obese. So that patient population are the ones that we need to address early on in their 30s, even go even younger in their 20s, 30s. If you start making changes in terms of lifestyle to prevent the development of the risk factors that eventually will lead to cardiovascular disease. Well, unfortunately, in Guam and throughout the South Pacific, throughout the Pacific Islands, there's a high prevalence of cardiovascular disease. And to a certain extent, in part, is because, the population, because of, the continued, gene pool, shall we say. So a large family history is important. Also, because of the changes in diet, over the decades after the war, basically that has led to overexplosion of diabetes and hypertension. At that point in time also, tobacco also became prevalent. So basically you have a concentrated patient population that have been exposed to all of these risks and continue to maintain them afloat. I mean, I think we've made some headway over the decades in terms of reducing the incidence of disease, but we still have a ways to go. Yes. And I think that question has two answers. And the way I look at it, and what I explain to my patients is, once you come to see me or come to see us as physicians for chest pain or for a heart attack, you're way down the continuum. It's late already. You already have the condition. So for that, yes, we have ways to tell, and I'll come back to that in a second. From my perspective, and I think for the Islanders' perspective, we want to catch you here before you develop the symptoms. This is what we need to address, and I think this is what we need to work with going forward, where we can begin to develop awareness of treating conditions here, the high blood pressure, diabetes, hypertension, high cholesterol, tobacco use, begin to address that very aggressively here so that you don't have to come back over here with the heart attack, with the angina, with the chest pain, or the signs of a stroke, etc. But for the patients who already have symptoms, then definitely we would want them to recognize symptoms such as chest pain, pressure, tightness, heaviness, unexplained shortness of breath, fatigue, tiredness. Women, unfortunately, for example, present with different symptoms. They don't present with the typical chest pain tightness that men will have. Women sometimes come in with atypical symptoms such as back pain, or they'll come in with fatigue, unexplained shortness of breath, or just not feeling right. So these are symptoms that will herald the onset of symptomatic cardiovascular disease. So what we usually tell patients are not to ignore symptoms. Men, for the most part, tend to ignore symptoms. They come into the emergency room with a heart attack, but weeks, months before they've been experiencing unexplained chest pain or unexplained shortness of breath, or they just don't feel right, they can't do the things they did before, and then they kind of ignore. And
then they have the heart attack.
And they have a heart attack, right. Basically, we look at their family history, their relatives, parents and siblings. So if you have evidence of bypass surgeries, if you have evidence of previous angioplasties, heart attacks in your parents, for example, at the age 40, 50, in the males, and 40, 50, and 60 in the females, if there's evidence of that in the family, then it's in all likelihood that you would be at risk for developing coronary artery disease or cardiovascular disease at an early age. And so if, for example, you have the risk factors or you have the risk factor of family history, then definitely you need to address very aggressively the other risk factors, because you're adding to those. Well, basically exercise and diet are the start. Okay. Basically, good lifestyle changes, that's extremely important. And then, of course, regular evaluation by their physicians to ensure that their blood pressure is properly controlled, that their cholesterol is properly controlled, that they don't have diabetes, for example. And then, of course, avoidance of tobacco use, of course.
Coming up, I teach you how to curb those hunger pangs with a healthy, sweet and salty trail mix. Half a day, I'm Louise Borja, and welcome back to Life in Balance. Today, what we're going to make for you, or at least offer you some options to make a healthier snack, a healthier trail mix snack for those in between your meals to help you from binging on a larger meal. I don't know if you realize that sometimes between lunch and dinner, and you have that time of the day where you just feel sluggish and you just need something to get you to get to the end of the day before you have dinner. You need something just to snack on real quick. So I thought I'd offer you an opportunity to create your own trail mix and customize it to some of your likings. If you've gone to a store and seen a bag of trail mix and some of the things in there you're not too fond of, well, in this opportunity you can actually find your favorite ingredients. So I wanted to offer you some of my favorite ingredients, and you can always swap it out and we'll go along with that. So we're going to start with the nuts, and what nuts does is it helps you to provide more protein in your diet and also to help hold off your cravings or in your hunger pangs until you get to your next meal. One of the more popular ones is almonds, and so I have a cup of almonds right here, and we're just going to go ahead and put this in this big bowl, and we'll eventually mix it all up. We also have pistachios here. Now I love pistachios, but you could always swap this out with maybe cashews. Cashews has a more buttery taste. So I specifically shelled all of these pistachios, but you can buy them deshelled already. And this is a cup of pistachios here. So you just mix this in. All the nuts are all together. And what I like to do is, because if you have a crunch monster in you, something that when you eat a snack, you want to have some type of crunch in it. I put some banana chips in here, and this is only about close to a cup of banana chips. You want to be careful with this because sometimes it has a lot of sugar content in it. So you want to look for banana chips that don't have a whole lot of sugar in it. And as you can tell, these banana chips are kind of big. So if you want to, you can always just break them down into little pieces. But this will add a nice crunch to your trail mix. There's about a cup of banana chips in here. Now, also we wanted to add in some fruit. And so what I have here is I have organic blueberries, which are these little round ones, if you can see them. And then I have cranberries here that are dried cranberries. So I just mix these together. Basically, it's a half cup of blueberries and a half cup of cranberries. You could put in your own if you want to add raisins in there. I got some raisins here. You can always just add those in as well. But these are my fruit selection, blueberries and cranberries, just because they have a nice little tart to it and they make it a little bit more flavorful together with everything that we have in here. So total, this comes out to about a cup. So we just pour that in there. And for our next ingredient is the cracker side. Now you can do crackers, you can do pretzels. I was specifically looking for oyster crackers, but you can have any variety of crackers in here. What I found, what would be kind of fun for the kids, they're shaped like bunnies. So these are like cheese bunnies, and then I have these little graham bunnies. So a mixture of a little bit of salty and sweet just within this ingredient here. So there's graham bunnies and cheese bunnies, and there's about a cup of this. And you want to go ahead and just pour this all in the mixture as well too. The fun thing about this is that you can have the kids pick and choose what they like. They're guaranteed to eat it because they're the ones who actually helped design the ingredients. And then finally, and this is it's kind of an option. So if you take a look at some trail mixes, you'll see that they have little chocolate pieces in there, like M&Ms or some yogurt pieces. I would try to stay away from the morsels, like the yogurt or the chocolate chips, because if they carry it around with them and it's too hot, then it'll get all melted up and it wouldn't be fun to eat if you got it all over your hands. So I specifically chose a couple of my favorite M&Ms. I'm going to reveal that now. M&Ms has this new coffee M&Ms, coffee nut, right? So I'm going to get that flavor of coffee in there, especially in the middle of the day when you're feeling kind of tired and you get that coffee flavor. It just kind of wakes your taste buds up. But also I wanted to add in peanut butter flavor, because peanut butter, of course, has a lot of protein in it. And so these M&Ms are specifically peanut butter M&Ms. So there's a mixture of coffee and peanut butter in here. Imagine all the flavors that is going to mix up in here. So we're just going to pour this in. And this is about a third, maybe a half cup. Okay, it's a half cup. I put a little bit more than usual. And then while I was pouring it in here, I was eating some of it too at the same time. But so this is about a half cup of M&M pieces in there. And you could choose whatever you want. I've seen some people put some Reese's peanut butter pieces in there. It's up to you, whichever one you like. But again, I would stay away from the morsels, because if they take it out in the sun and the kids pack it in their bag, it's more than likely going to melt, especially with the heat, right? So we're just going to pour this one in. Now, the reason why I wore some gloves is because you can make this such a fun thing for the kids, and you just like get in there and just mix it all up. And this is a dry trail mix. And so you just mix it all up. You got the almonds, the pistachios, the banana chips, the blueberries, cranberries, and the graham crackers, and the cheese crackers, and of course the M&Ms, right? So this looks so delicious. It's very colorful and very tasty. So much in there. Now the key to having a healthy snack, right, is portions. So what you don't want to do is you want to take this whole thing and eat it. Like, okay, I got my snack here. What you want to do is you want to portion size this to about 1/4 cup. And I would just, if you want to take this and just kind of pick up and just put some in there, just kind of eyeball it, and I would say this is about 1/4 cup right here. This is a great snack size in between lunch and dinner. I would recommend keeping it at 1/4 cup because for each serving size for these ingredients, you're looking at approximately 110 to maybe 130 calories, and that's a perfect calorie count for a snack. And so this is about 1/4 cup, and you can see how pretty it looks. You can put it in a Ziploc, you can put it in a little container, but you have the pistachios, the almonds, and the M&Ms, the banana chips. You got everything in there. And so if you're looking for a healthier snack and you want to mix a little bit of sweet and salty and then just carry on for the rest of the day until your last meal, that way you don't binge at night, because I'm not sure if you've tried that. Either you have breakfast and you skip lunch, or you have an early lunch and go all the way till very late at night, dinner. Then you just pile on the food and you overeat, and then you get sleepy and it's time to sleep. So I would recommend carrying a little bag like this, a quarter size bag of a sweet and salty trail mix, and you can mix and match it and make the kids make it. And this is your healthy snack of the day, something that you can take along with you. Thank you for joining.
Up next, it's yoga with Geri Cepeda at the beautiful Akanta Business Center.
Hi, thanks for joining me. I'd like to remind you as you go through the different yoga poses to breathe as you need to. Breathe deeply, and also remember yoga is for everybody and for every body. So as I go through the different moves, please remember, do only as much as you're comfortable. Thank you. Let's go ahead and get started. I like to start in mountain pose. You can bring your toes together or slightly wider apart. Take a deep breath, firm up your thighs. Maybe put your hands on your stomach and feel your stomach muscles tighten. Roll your shoulders back and down. And I invite you to breathe deeply here, taking a deep inhale, and then exhale as your hands slowly reach out toward the ground. Inhale here again, deeply, and then exhale. I invite you to bring maybe one arm up overhead as you reach to the side. Inhaling, reaching up, and then exhaling, reaching for one side. Inhaling again, bringing both arms up, maybe this time. Lowering the arm, taking the opposite hand, and reaching for the other side. Inhaling one last time, bringing both arms up. Maybe taking a look at your hands as you take a deep breath here. Exhale, bringing your arms down. If you find that's difficult, only bring your arms up as much as you're comfortable. You can bring it up to the side, halfway, and bringing it down. Or you can bring it to the front. Again, only as much as you're comfortable. And then exhaling down. The next step I'd like to do is the star pose. So bringing your feet a little bit wider than your hips. You can put your hands on your hips. Bring your arms out and think of yourself as a 5-pointed star. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 at the top of your head. Breathing deeply, inhaling as much as you're comfortable, reaching out as much as you're comfortable. If you need some help, maybe you'd like to hold on to a chair. Here, that will work also. If you'd like to bring your shoulders up and back down as you inhale and exhale, we'll move on now to Warrior 2. So I invite you to take one foot, one or the other, point it toward the short end of your yoga mat, and slowly bend your front knee. Inhaling here, exhaling as you bend only as much as you're comfortable. Taking your shoulders up and back. With Warrior 2 pose, I invite you next to sweep your back arm and bring it to the front into Warrior 1 pose. Again, only as much as you're comfortable. In fact, you can leave your arms, your hands here on your hips. Inhaling back up to star pose, and we'll do the other side. I have the chair here so you can always hold on to this. Bringing your front foot pointing to the short side of the mat, and again, bending your knees as much as you're comfortable. Hold on to the chair if it helps with your stability. Taking another inhale here, maybe bring both arms up to Warrior 1. Again, holding on to the chair or keeping your hands on your hips. Coming back up to star pose. Bringing your arms back up. Inhaling here. And then exhaling. If you'd like to try a forward fold, maybe bring your arms back to your hands back to your hips. Slowly bend forward as much as you're able, as much as you're comfortable with. Again, maybe holding onto the chair for stability. If you can bring your hands down, you can do that. And bend a little further if you're comfortable. Otherwise, please keep your hands on your hips or on a chair as you inhale deeply and exhale here. Inhale, coming back up to star. Hands on your hips. One last inhale before you step your feet together at the front of the mat, and maybe ending with mountain pose. One last inhale with your arms overhead, again, only as much as you're comfortable. Coming back down. Thank you for joining me.